Now let's talk about the other running back for my chalk rookie of the year pick. He's second in the running. So you talked about Joe Burrow. I think we're gonna have a whole segment on Joe Burrow specifically later on another show here. But my pick is it's a fantasy my guy too. You gotta expect this from me. He's second in the odds, like I said, plus 800 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, who's taken at the 32nd overall pick in this draft. Only running back taken in the first round. And for me, I think CEH starts out in a 1A, 1B situation, then slowly becomes a full one by the end of the year. And if you believe that, he's going to be productive, like if you think he's going to be good, then I don't see why Andy Reid and the Kansas City coaching staff don't just see that and give him all the volume. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you have an indictment on Clyde Edwards-Helaire's volume, I think that's an indictment on him as a player. And based on his college tape, the fact he was taken in the first round, all signs point to him being great and used a ton in this offense. Listen to the first round running back average stat line over the last 7 years. It's 213 carries, 37 receptions, and a finishing as a fantasy RB2. So I got to think CEH is going to be higher in every single one of those categories. And running backs taken in the first round have a 55.6% chance of being a top 12 running back. So wow. I love it. I mean, dude, if you're telling me there's a 56% chance that CEH is an RB1 this year, I will gladly take that. And those odds for fantasy and those stats are going to lead to an Offensive Rookie of the Year line that you just can't surpass. Now, I know there's Damien Williams truthers out there. I just don't see the Chiefs giving the ball to Williams if CEH is running at 4.6 yards per carry or better. I have him at 200 carries right now, and it might increase even more as we get closer to the season. Helaire's going to get goal line and passing work. We know there's going to be plenty to go around in both aspects. There's always been value in the Kansas City backfield over the last, call it 5 years. They've always had an RB1, at least an RB2, certainly an RB1 when they play all 16 games. And Damien Williams has never really been a workhorse. I don't think the plan for him was ever to be that workhorse role. Last season was his best season in almost every metric, and he dealt with injury, missed 5 games. And he was more of a complementary piece in the Chiefs' offense. And they want to have him healthy for the playoffs. We saw a great playoff run that Williams had. Can't take anything away from him there, but I think he'll get a lot of passing work, but I don't think he's going to get many of those carries when we have CEH breaking them off to the house on first down and scoring every time they give it to him in the red zone. So right now I have him on the cusp of RB1 in fantasy. He's going to be a statistical darling and an easy shoe-in just based off of offensive production in 2020. I have CEH as a shoe-in for Offensive Rookie of the Year if it's not Joe Burrow.
Wow. Stef, bringing the hot takes. And look, I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to have a really good season. And something I want to call out is, like, if you were in on Miles Sanders last year from a fantasy perspective and just believed in Miles Sanders' talent, you have to be in on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm telling you that right now, because when you look at the situation, it's actually very, very similar. Both running backs brought in with a decent amount of draft capital. There are veterans already there. Both offenses are good. But when you look at Miles Sanders compared to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, literally every single thing that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has compared to Miles Sanders is better. One, the draft capital is higher. Sanders was a second-round pick, mid to late second round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire went in the first round. Two, you look at the veteran that was there. For Miles Sanders last year, it was Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard's way better than Damien Williams is. So Damien Williams is there. He is not going to be a problem for Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Kansas City. Three, you look at the offense. Kansas City, I mean, I don't even need to talk about this. Kansas City is way better than Philly from an offensive perspective. They also love to feature the running back in the passing game. And the only other thing is the skill set. I'm not going to sit here and, it's splitting hairs, and we've had a year of NFL experience from Miles Sanders, so that might skew our opinion a little bit. But when they were coming out of college, the hype train from scouts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire feels a lot stronger than it was from Miles Sanders last season. And they actually have a very similar skill set, both very strong on the ground, can get it done on the goal line, great in the receiving game as well. So if you were in on Sanders last year, you have to be on Helaire this year. Yes, you might have to spend up a little bit more for him in drafts, but we really didn't see Sanders get going as a consistent startable fantasy asset until about midway through the season last year. I think it's much, much quicker for CEH in 2020.